A little bit about my area, western Kansas. The difference between there and here is, well, there's fewer people, and at this point, there's kind of more cats per square mile than there are people. So this is kind of the example here. But this is our property. The cats remaining there, that's where my neighbor farms wheat, fallow wheat, and the rest you can kind of see are terraces. So we believe that diversity increases quality, and we're kind of like the small batch growers. We're trying to have a consistent quality product. This is my priorities in a year. Since I started direct marketing, selling wheat has become a year-round thing, small batches of wheat, and right now the wheat is dormant, which is our main crop, so feeding animals is very important. And then in the spring we prep machines and prep storage. And being a winter wheat, harvest happens in the summer, and we plant wheat in the fall. So a strength of Turkey Red is that it stools out in the spring quite a bit. So, you know, an important part of weed control is kind of a preventative practice. So that's ground cover. And if you can understand my logic here, you can understand basically any organic rule. This is the weed control rules under the National Organic Program. First, you have to know what you can't do. And so number one there is different practices that are banned under the NOP. Second, you have to have some kind of plan for a preventative or cultural practice. And so for weed control, it's all of those things. And third, there are a few synthetic materials that are allowed if they're on the NOP national list. So we don't have to do actually the third step because the second step is effective for us. Our big plan right now for our cropland is to fence it all in and let our cattle, bison, horses, and chickens manage like summer fallow or just weeds, and we do a lot of mulching. Don't do any planting, we do some tillage, and we have a diverse crop rotation. And also clean seed too. So after people certify organic, something that they don't always have figured out is how they're going to market. So this is a chart of when we first certified organic to last year, and when we first started out, well, we made one sale as organic. Then for, more than a decade, we were selling our crops as non-organic to the local elevator. And Turkey Red, you can sell it as just any other hardware winter wheat, so there wasn't really a limit to our market to grow that kind of old wheat. But it didn't really justify our organic certification if we were just thinking about marketing. In 2011, we had one buyer that got Turkey Red listed on the Slow Food Arc of Taste for seed to save. Once it got on that list, interest really started to pick up. Then that buyer found other growers to grow it, so we were kind of at a loss. For a few years, we didn't have any sales at all. So on this chart, you can see the pounds we sold versus the dollars. So you can see the pounds were way up there at the beginning when we were certified, and compared to the dollars we were making, it was very little. But then in about 2013, I put a listing on localharvest.org, which actually shows slow food arc of taste items. And I started just getting calls from people, just random people all over the country, and I started accommodating them. So very slowly, interest started to build in this wheat. The dollars have gone up with the pounds that I've sold, past what we were selling when we were selling semi-loads. It takes a lot of burning shoe rubber, and I would agree that it does take a lot of your time. So you really have to be kind of a people person. Or decide what kind of extra work am I going to do, like marketing, like seed cleaning, like transportation. And that's an example that I've seen as we've sent this wheat across the country. This is a map of where turkey red used to be grown in 1919. It was 99% of hard red winter wheat in this country. So it's very adaptable, and there's a lot of opportunity for people who want to get into direct marketing, especially if they're close to cities. Weakness to turkey red that made it go out of favor with people in the middle of the last century was it does get really tall. So like there's a picture of me in your handout next to this wheat. I have a yardstick, so it's more than 3 feet tall in western Kansas where it's dry. If you grew it in eastern Kansas, someone actually did, and yeah, it's pretty tall. So someone grew it in Maine, pretty tall. And when they really started to use synthetic fertilizers after World War II, then it kind of makes things lodge when wheat would lodge. So they developed semi-dwarf wheat, the short wheat, and that made wheat put a lot more energy into the seed head, increase the yield. So that's kind of the summary of wheat breeding improvements that made turkey red fall out of favor in the last century. But then my farmer customers say, well, they feel like they're kind of on a treadmill. There's always a better, newer variety out there. And so I've sold to quite a few farmers who maybe just want to raise it for themselves to eat it, or they are developing markets in different areas. And I've been criticized for making this wheat available to other farmers because it's like I'm giving crop to or seed to my competition. But I think that they're going to have a product that can be unique to their region if they really get into the direct marketing. And because I think that flavor comes from the soil and quality comes from the soil, because we use an alfalfa rotation, I think that adds some other kind of flavor element. So success, direct marketing, it really is hands-on, and it does depend on your location and people skills. My dad kept growing turkey wheat even when no one cared, because he says he just liked the way it looked. It was a tall wheat, looks like a C maybe when it waves in the wind. But he didn't want to be the only one growing it, so he started making it available to other farmers. And in a way, we're seeing some success reaching kind of our mission of just making this wheat available to other people because of how far it's gone so far. And it's up to them, once they get it, to develop their own direct market.